Kirkham's three is short. Donley with the rebound. Cohawk 6 for 9 from the field here in the second quarter. Young for three, and it's good. Trying to get that Armin Dean going over, and Dean's got him on his back, and that'll be a pin for the Knights.
That one's over, and that's one way to end it. Kadelka slams the door shut. Dodd rolls out deep. You got a man. It's caught. Touchdown.
Three is taken, falling too short, rolls off the rim. Marshawn decides to hold it. He actually throws it. It's good! Oh my God! Full court shot!
What does it mean to leave a legacy? An impact so profound that it unites generations? How does a small Lutheran liberal arts college in Waverly, Iowa sustain such astonishing levels of athletic success? Ask anyone who has been a Wartburg Knight. They will tell you it is the people and the stories they tell that make the orange and black more than a team. It is a legacy. Wartburg College was founded in 1852 in Saginaw, Michigan by George Grossman. Wartburg moved to Waverly, Iowa in 1879. By 1894, Wartburg College was split into two campuses, Clinton, Iowa, and Waverly. The Clinton campus housed the liberal arts programs, while the Waverly campus was a teacher's college and later adopted the title of Wartburg Academy. It was on Clinton's campus in 1934 that the Knights moniker was born, and it all started with biology professor Elmer Hurdle.
In terms of the nickname with the Knights, there was never any official nickname at that time, but newspaper sports writers in the 30s being what they were, you always had a nickname for everything. So the Clinton newspaper at the time sometimes would call Wartburg, because of its German background, the Teutons, which is the German equivalent of calling somebody from Norway the Norse, like Luther. At that time, it's, the rise of the Third Reich in Nazi Germany, and we weren't quite certain how he felt about Germany, and that just felt a little bit too ethnic. What kind of tore it for Elmer is that in one of the early school annuals, the person who was in charge of editing the sports talked about Heil Hurdle and his Wartburg Teutons, which really upset him. And so he thought, we got to come up with a nickname. We got to kind of pull away a little bit from our German heritage, because it looks like we're about to go to war with them. And so at that time, he sat down with the Clinton newspaper editor. This all occurred in 1934, when the last year that the college was still in Clinton. Elmer suggested the Knights and said, would that work with the editor, and what his requirements were for doing headlines and spacing and things that were important in the 1930s with doing a newspaper. And he said, yeah, that would work.
The Wartburg Academy, which included high schoolers into its ranks, donned purple and gold and went by the Spartans. In 1935, a decision changed the Knights' future forever. Due to the devastating impact of the Great Depression, it was decided that the Lutheran Church could not support two colleges in Iowa, so Wartburg College was reorganized and permanently settled in Waverly, Iowa. To ease the blow of Clinton losing its college, the Waverly campus adopted the colors of orange and black to replace the purple and gold used by the Wartburg Academy, and the Spartans became the Knights. Hurdle impacted students both on and off the field, coaching 3 sports over 8 seasons and serving on the biology faculty from 1931 to 1979. Though Hurdle was not the most successful coach in Wartburg's history, one could argue he may be the most influential. In 1935, the Wartburg Knights rostered just 2 teams, football and basketball. In 1936, the Knights joined the Iowa Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, now reorganized into the American Rivers Conference. That inaugural conference year included Buena Vista University, Central College, University of Dubuque, Loras College, Luther College, and Simpson College. creating Wartburg rivalries that still stand today. One rival that stands out above the rest is Luther College. They began their rivalry on February 1st, 1938 over a game of basketball. Over their 88-year shared history, Wartburg and Luther have faced off over 1,000 times, spanning 20 different sports, transforming Wartburg-Luther games beyond simple matchups into campus lore and tradition.
When I was a student and I was doing the play-by-play for KWAR, they snuck a pig into the gym. And that became a famous incident. Up until that point in time, John Curt would always turn off all the lights in the gym for the national anthem except for one light on the American flag. And in 1980, lights went out, we sang the national anthem, lights came back on, and all of a sudden there was this piglet running across the floor, the basketball floor. Had a little blanket on one side of the blanket said Wart, and the other side of the blanket said sucks.
Years ago, I was coaching football at the time, and the Wartburg-Luther rival, where one of our distance runners had his pilot's license, and long story short, he flew over Decorah and dropped leaflets down, and it was basically talking about the positive side of the rival. I'll just say that.
Wartburg's rivalry with Luther College soared to new heights this year as students took to the air to avenge their college.
Saturday morning, a fake student group called the Organization of Nature Enthusiasts, The One, snuck into the Luther parade lineup.
That morning, we found a place that we'd scouted out that you could hide and build a float without anybody kind of knowing you were there, because everything had to be built on site. And then we had to hide in a different location until it was time for us to sneak in the parade. So there was a dozen of us that marched along like we were Luther students. Then when we got in front of the viewing stand, that's where we revealed ourselves as Wartburg students, and then went through the rest of the parade, marching all the way to their campus, all the way onto campus.
In the 1950s, the Wartburg Knights found themselves in the national spotlight. The Knights men's basketball team, led by Axel Bundgaard, who coached the Knights for 13 seasons, was invited to participate in the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. While Bundgaard led Wartburg to a total of 6 NAIA tournaments, it was Louis Levick, known to all as Buzz, who would bring the Knights to the national stage and set the tone for what it meant to face the Knights on the court.
We played in the old Knights gymnasium, which is long gone, but people used to have to come an hour before the game just to get a seat. I mean, the place was packed, and opposing teams hated coming into Knights gymnasium. In fact, there was a football player by the name of Vern Den Herder. I played basketball against him as well. He was from Central, and he ended up playing for the Miami Dolphins. He was one of their defensive players in the no-name defense in the Super Bowl. One of the reporters, journalists, asked him, well, where's the most difficult place you ever played? And thinking he named some other NFL stadium or something, he said, oh, that's easy. The snake pit at Wartburg College.
Levick's list of accomplishments and trophies are indeed impressive, but it's his love for students as well as sport at Wartburg that is truly legendary.
In fact, what I would do, I'd just blow the whistle, take the fellow and put my arm around his waist, and we would walk to the other end of the gym, and we'd just visit and say, well, we won't do those things anymore.
The culture of community created by Levick set the standard for the future of the Knights. Stands full of enthusiastic spectators and the raucous atmosphere of the old Knights gymnasium passed down from generation to generation. While today the presence of female athletes is considered a part of the fabric of any collegiate athletics program, that was not always the case. The Women's Athletic Association, or the WAA, was created in the early 1900s to provide an avenue for women to compete in sports at the collegiate level. Wartburg's chapter of the WAA was created in 1936, allowing women to compete in various sports, from table tennis to basketball. For nearly 40 years, this is how women's sports operated for the Knights, in the background. In 1972, President Richard Nixon signed Title IX into law, which prohibits discrimination based on sex in education programs and activities, including athletic programs that receive federal financial assistance. Former coach and senior woman administrator Monica Severson explains the impact of Title IX on female athletes.
Title IX is something that, really increased the level of females in athletics, and we really saw a big growth in women's athletics during that period of time. We have seen significant growth during the 90s, but really as a senior woman administrator, being involved with the athletic director, being at conference meetings, being at NCAA committee meetings, being involved with the hiring process is very important. And so really it was to provide women a voice within the athletics.
By 1974, female athletes at Wartburg, referred to as the Knighties, had 4 officially recognized teams: volleyball, basketball, tennis, and softball. In the early 1980s, cross country and track and field were added to the official roster of women's athletics. With the expansion of women's athletics at Wartburg, we saw the role of female coaches and administration grow as well.
Well, what we tried to do back when we started it was just create, some communication between our student athletes and athletic administration. So we had a student athlete from all of our athletic teams on that. We usually tried to meet about once a month, did a variety of different projects. I know we were very involved with the Unified Sports Day for many years. And we also started a faculty athletic mentor program where we had teams be connected with a faculty mentor at that time, because we thought that was really important.
Title IX amplified female athletes' voices. Their stories now enjoy the recognition and support they deserve. In 1996, under the leadership of head coach Jim Miller, Wartburg secured the first national championship in school history.
It took us 5 years to win a national championship, but that did change everything. That did change the expectation. And I think probably one of the biggest differences now would be the first time we won a national championship was in Cortland, New York. And we flew home into the Waterloo Airport, and there was, 150 people there. And we got to the old Knights gymnasium, and there was one side of that gymnasium was full, and President Vogel and our team was down there. It was a big deal. It was just a big deal. Anytime you do something that's never been done before, it's a big deal. So that was really you knew it was a game changer, and because after that we knew we could.
In the spirit of community that has been a staple of Wartburg College since the early days of hurdle, Miller describes the camaraderie between coaches used to inspire each other to greatness.
And I'll never forget Marcus Newsom, now our longtime track coach. He was a young whippersnapper back then. He came in, he walked by my office, stopped, seen the trophy, came in, picked up the trophy. He says, "I got to get me one of these." Set it down, walked out. And now he's got 9.
Great coaches provide great opportunities for young coaches to learn from and to grow, but to also aspire to be, right? And so watching Coach Miller win a national title, and when I became the head coach here, he gave me kind of a blueprint of what that looked like. I was just watching him work and in awe of how he was coaching and teaching. But I was a track coach, right? But I wanted to see how he coached, right? Because my goal was to win a national title. right? And so I've always told people, for us to win our first national title in 2005, and one of the first persons to give me a hug was Coach Miller. Was something I will never forget. He taught me what it meant to be a winner and how to win.
I knew that was a big dream of his, and actually the national tournament that year was at Wartburg. And it came down to the last 4x4. And we did what we needed to do, and we won the national title, and obviously that was Marcus's first national title. And it was just like, we were all one team.
On March 10th, 2012, the Wartburg College Knights made NCAA history. Men's wrestling and women's track and field became the only teams from the same school to win a national title on the same day. The Knights continue to add athletic teams to their official roster. The newest additions to Wartburg's lineup include esports, bowling, and clay target sports. Women's wrestling, one of the most recent additions in 2022, is already making an impact on the national stage.
If I go through the lineup, 103, 117, 124, 131, we're all freshmen. 3 of whom were national qualifiers. I think we ended up 11th in the after nationals, like team rankings wise, and it's like we're doing that with so many freshmen on our team who haven't had much freestyle experience in general, which is extremely important when you're wrestling against world team members, when you're wrestling against seniors, or that's how good our coaching staff is here.
Esports has also made its way into the spotlight with national championships in 2023 and 2025.
I think the first season of Overwatch, they were placed in the, I think maybe lowest division or second lowest division. They ended up winning the nationals for that. That was the same story for Mario Kart. We were placed in the lowest division because we were a new team, and we ended up winning that. And then we got moved up and won again. And I think even just a little recognition by the school is enough to boost the reputation of esports forward, to not be just like, these are the kids that just sit in the computer all day and do nothing, and they don't study. But I think we can show that we are good students. We are student athletes, not gamer students, right? No matter how much I want that to be true, right? And I think, so basically winning is important, but also, again, having fun, because I think we basically do what every other sport does.
For the Knights, success is measured in more than wins and losses. It is also measured by the unbreakable bonds formed among teammates and coaches.
The number one goal is that unconditional love, right? Sometimes I think people look at Wartburg athletics, I would say in a different light than what they really know. They have to be here to see it and to really know what this family structure is about, right? And so it's not just about wins and losses. It's about holistic growth. And I think that's a key part of our success and our tradition, is the holistic growth that all of our student athletes, through athletics, the process that they go into develop into incredible young men and young women and professionals outside of athletics.
For a while, I didn't know my position as an athlete. I was nervous to even call myself an athlete for a while, because I didn't believe I deserved the title of an athlete. And so being a part of a wrestling team, period, being a part of, in particular, Wartburg Wrestling, where these girls give me the confidence, my coaches reassure me and they tell me that I am good enough, and even without the accolades, that I'm worthy enough of being an athlete.
90 years of perseverance, friendship, community, and rivalries have provided the roots needed for the Wartburg Knights to pass their heritage on to the generations to come. No matter what the future holds for Wartburg, there will be one constant. The Knights' traditions will live on because of the people. The Knights are more than a team. They are a legacy.